A father's fear. Victor is desperate as Jack's counterattack puts Adam's life in jeopardy. Jack Abbott, Adam Newman, and Victor Newman. It starts as a planned corporate strike, but quickly devolves into something far more sinister. A series of events that puts Adam's life in actual risk and forces Victor to confront the one thing he cannot control, the prospect of losing his son forever. This goes beyond business. This is private, and everything will be altered by the fallout. The beginning of a father's worst nightmare. Nothing compares to the moment a father realizes his child is in danger due to his own choices, even if Victor Newman has experienced betrayals, enemies, coups, and prison cells. Adam Newman has always been on the periphery of the Newman empire. He has been accepted, used as a weapon, abandoned, and then brought back in when Victor most needed him. It's different this time. Adam is more than a pawn now. The target is him. According to recent teasers, Adam discovers information that was never intended for him, such as a covert deal, a covert alliance, or a hidden maneuver that links Newman Enterprises to a hazardous outsider. Adam starts picking threads in an attempt to demonstrate his value and independence. And someone observes. Adam is unaware that his inquisitiveness has placed him squarely in the crosshairs of a scheme that is far more ambitious and brutal than he could have ever dreamed. Before anyone else, Victor senses it. An unanswered call, a postponed check-in, a gut feeling that is unavoidable. Victor Newman feels fear for the first time in a long time. Jack Abbott retaliates and alters the course of events. Jack Abbott has shown patience. Too much patience. He has seen Victor manipulate people, markets, and results with impunity for months. He has witnessed Adam being used as a blunt tool and then held accountable when things don't work out. Additionally, Jack has been planning a counteroffensive behind closed doors that aims to expose Victor as well as weaken him. Jack's action is devastating and surgical. He goes for a Newman operation that Victor thought was untouchable. It involves shell corporations, offshore assets, and a shadow partner who won't put up with any loose ends. Jack keeps the details private. Quietly, he turns it into a weapon by shifting pressure to the most vulnerable areas. Victor discovers Jack's actions too late. Jack has unintentionally or intentionally put Adam at danger by upsetting this operation. Adam is not regarded as Victor's son by the individuals he has been interacting with. He is considered collateral by them. All of a sudden, Victor is no longer engaged in a boardroom altercation with Jack. It's fight time for him. Adam's life in peril, a closing trap. Adam senses it before he comprehends it. A automobile that keeps up with him. A last-minute location change for a meeting. A message that doesn't feel right. Adam has experienced perilous living in the past, but this time is different. This drama isn't from Genoa City. This menace exists in the actual world. Someone wants to permanently silence him. A terrifying scene when Adam barely avoids an accident that Victor immediately realizes is what it is hinted at in spoilers. Not at random. Not by accident. A caution. When Victor presses his contacts for answers, he receives something much worse. Proof that Adam is vulnerable. Victor used to think he was in charge of these men, but now they are in a panic. And when powerful people are in a panic, they delete liabilities. Adam poses a risk. Victor's empire, which was based on power and terror, is now worthless. Victor Newman. Control is replaced by desperation. The story becomes explosive at this point. Victor Newman takes an unimaginable action. He pleads. Not in public. Not in a weak manner. However, he approaches Jack Abbott directly and requests a ceasefire. Jack notices something in Victor's eyes that he never anticipated. Unadulterated dread. Adam's life is in danger, Victor acknowledges. And Jack comes to a frightening realization of the truth. His retaliation was successful. Too well. Jack is conflicted. He despises Victor. He doesn't have faith in him. However, he had no intention of placing Adam in danger of death. Despite all of his shortcomings, Adam is not the antagonist in this situation. Nevertheless, Jack won't just reverse his action without repercussions. There is more to this than merely saving Adam. This has to do with making Victor pay. Who will Jack save at the moral crossroads? Jack now has all the power and accountability. Victor escapes unpunished if he retreats too swiftly. Adam might not live if he doesn't. According to spoilers, Jack launches a second counterattack with the intention of destroying Victor's risky partnerships without drawing reprisals. However, it's dangerous. Any error could make Adam more vulnerable. Adam, meanwhile, doesn't realize how close he is to catastrophe until danger immediately approaches. A conflict, a chase, a snap decision that could ruin his entire life. Adam is shattered when he discovers the truth. The betrayal is more profound than previously when Adam eventually discovers that Victor's covert actions are endangering his life. Victor did more than simply control him. He put him in risk. The emotional consequences are severe. The scene where Adam confronts Victor is unvarnished, enraged, and devastating. Adam wants to know if Victor was always disposable or if he ever really cared. There is no deflection by Victor. He doesn't rule. He acknowledges the reality, and he exposes his worst flaw in doing so. A father's fear alters everything. This plot is about transformation rather than just suspense. Victor must decide between his family and his power. Jack must face the price of retaliation. Adam must determine if he will ever be able to trust either man again. A final scene in which Victor purposefully destroys a significant portion of his business in order to protect Adam is hinted to in spoilers. Victor would never have made this sacrifice in the past. However, it might be too late already. Ever the worst cookie? This week's most odd events in soap history. The catastrophe cookie. How a bake sale turned into a crime scene. With paper plates, a folding table, and a banner that said Bakers for a Cause. It began like any small-town fundraiser. Nikki Newman, who never declines a community event, had given an elaborate tin of cookies that was labeled with a handwritten letter and circled with a ribbon. The cookies appeared to be innocuous. The cookies weren't innocuous. Here's the plot twist. During a particularly tense family gathering, a solitary cookie in the tin caused a spectacular allergic response that compelled a confession. A confession indeed. A character released information like flour from a ripped bag, confessing to a decades-old cover-up between gasps and a rapidly swelling lip. The offender? A name that connected the cookie to a long-lost lover, and thus, to the deepest recesses of the Newman family ledger, was written on the back of a recipe card. Baked treats plus soap logic equals chaos. Fans weren't convinced, and producers later denied orchestrating it for ratings. What is the takeaway? At a crisis meeting, never accept pastries unless you have a legal team on rapid dial and an EpiPen. 2. The Great Stand-In. Misplaced mourning and mannequin mayhem. A bereaved character tried to retain the memory of a departed love by supporting a mannequin in their typical chair in a narrative that will have baristas and stagehands worldwide raising an empathetic eyebrow for sympathy. The crowd gaped as friends and family, who were sleep-deprived and grieving, gradually started talking to the mannequin as though it needed answers. While straightening a shirt cuff, one said, "This is what you would have wanted." Another person poured a cup of tea into the void and remarked, "I can't believe you're gone." The twist then appeared. A life-sized, motionless figure surprised an armed intruder as he slid by. There was mayhem. A storyline involving mistaking a window display for a sign of optimism emerged 3 episodes later after the mannequin was unintentionally shipped to the incorrect house. The story's lesson? Unresolved grief should never be propped up on a plastic torso, because this might result in identity theft, miscommunications, and a number of extremely uncomfortable funerals. 3. The overly knowledgeable phone, texts, autocorrects, and worldwide disgrace. Autocorrect has long been the bane of soap operas. The high point of this week was a poisoned SMS that revealed a covert relationship just because the predictive suggestions feature was never disabled. Meet Me by the Pier was written by a character, and the phone enthusiastically responded, "Meet me by the pierogi," since it naturally did. The recipient, an adversary with a flair for the dramatic, mistook the error for evidence of a coded culinary meeting, and then assumed a completely different meeting involving a secret chef and a false identity. Before you could say text read subpoena, family members were being led into boardroom interrogations. The town's gossip section had a headline about pierogi and passion, and local eateries experienced an unexplained increase in dumpling orders. The lesson? Disable predictive text if you want to conceal a scandal. Hire a more reliable alibi that is impervious to typos. 4. The unintentional live stream. Millions watch a therapy session. When a purported private treatment session unintentionally broadcast on the hospital's new telehealth channel, reality and stage drama collided. The incorrect conference room had been deftly synchronized to the live feed by a tech intern. All of a sudden, the country witnessed a prominent figure confess to a crime that would alter business leadership, romantic relationships, and inheritances. The scene is still a lesson in timing and humiliation. An intern's face, as pale as the fluorescent lights, lurked in the corner of the frame. The patient sought to recant the confession mid-sentence, and the therapist tried to salvage the situation with clinical questions. Ratings skyrocketed. Marketers hurried. A clarification that was worse than the original broadcast was written by the character's PR consultant, who showed up to the hospital 2 minutes late. Never before has public humiliation been so widely broadcast. According to the archives, it trended for 3 days in a row under the hashtags #TherapyLeaks and #GenoaGate. Do you want to go viral? Admit something that cannot be redeemed in front of a camera, and ensure that your redemption provider is closed on Sundays. 5. The Phantom Driver, a love letter written by a car alarm. A car alarm turned into the main piece of evidence in a love triangle in a narrative sway that is simultaneously beautiful and blatantly absurd. Because the cars in question were all the same make and model, and had been set to beep at the first sign of emotion, a late-night parking lot fight came to a stop when 3 alarms started to sound simultaneously. This wasn't due to vandalism. That's what we were told. After reconstructing the incident and playing the alarm sounds backwards, detectives managed to hear a request for forgiveness, a covert stakeout, an unintentional proposal under strobe lights, and ultimately a shoplifting subplot resulted from this oral hallucination. Why? Because soap operas live on interconnection. Forensic audio specialists will always be troubled by the police report's mention of emotional resonance leading to property disturbance. 6. The Pet Psychic, a Labrador's role in a murder investigation. A Labrador solving a crime with a wagging tail was a new level of whimsy, even though animals have long been a soap opera staple. Just as a crucial witness entered, the dog sniffed out a clue, a half-melted candle, a chewed legal pad, or a restraining bracelet, and pulled it to its owner's feet. After thanking the dog on camera, the owner, a seasoned investigator who had tried every procedural tactic in the book, saw the dog almost win a citation for civic duty. The question, is the dog working with the mayor? Delighted conspiracy theorists. One blog pondered. Later, offers for daytime positions were received by the dog's representative. The lesson? A dog will ruin your alibi and then steal your future, so never undervalue them. 7. The Inadvertent Exchange, Mail, Deception, and Matrimonial Chaos. 2 envelopes containing divorce papers and a little velvet box were exchanged in the post room during the week's most bureaucratically chaotic beat. The outcome was a series of incidents that sounded like a romantic comedy penned by a caffeine deprivation committee. A woman excitedly waiting at a jeweler's bench found she was suddenly unmarried on paper. A man anticipating a clean break opened a proposal. By the time the error was discovered, wedding cakes had been ordered, fake engagement parties had been organized, and an old aunt had crocheted identical scarves for both homes. This resulted in an instant candlelit alliance and a rare moment of shared laughter between 2 families that had been at odds for a long time. Naturally, there was also a subplot about a postal worker who had an unwise side business and litigation. What is the takeaway? The unsung heroes of soap operas are post offices. 8. The medical miracle that needed a parking permit and a miracle. This week's episode featured a nearly impossible transplant whose donor was only accessible because someone misplaced a parking permit. Soap operas enjoy miraculous recoveries. A medical courier slipped a donation card in the incorrect bag after becoming sidetracked by a flash mob in the hospital atrium. As a result, there was a race against time, a golf cart chase across town, and doctors literally going into the operating room while their gloves were still covered in cafeteria crumbs. The focal point of it all was a main character who, while in a coma, said the one-word phrase that will be forever recited at conventions: caffeine. It is debatable if that word was literal, metaphysical, or the result of subpar sedation. However, the patient survived the transplant and then demanded an account of every slight they had ever experienced. A happy conclusion? In a way. Absurd? Of course. 9. The time-shifting elevator. An instrument or a dramatic instrument? You've seen dream sequences, time jumps, and flashbacks. But this week a broken lift created a scene in which actors emerged 5 minutes earlier. Did it have an electrical component? Mysterious? A novel approach to therapy? Only the cinematic payoff, apologies that were genuinely delivered, confessions that would have otherwise been suppressed by pride, and a nosy neighbor who suddenly knew more about everyone's secrets than the mayor, is provided by the script, which provides no scientific explanation. For hours, fans debated whether the lift was a convenience or a metaphor on the internet. The lift was given its own Instagram account, and the authors remained silent. If soap opera viewers are not creative, they are nothing. 10. The cupcake that modified a will. Lastly, we complete the circle to baked goods. A cupcake that was inadvertently placed inside a safe containing a freshly amended will, decorated with a single sugared rose. The cupcake had fossilized into what appeared to be evidence when the safe was unlocked during a live reading. It was described as compromised by lawyers, a mess by the funeral director, the crime scene by the heirs, and potentially probative by the conservator when one daring relative tried to save the icing. Family members were compelled by this baked-in twist to look at frosting and ponder existential issues such as love, legacy, and the number of allergens they were ready to overlook in order to inherit. The final macabre joke of the week was that a pastry gourmet, rather than a legal expert, would now split the estate. Concluding remarks. Why the strange stick around? The heightened reality of slow-motion tears, betrayals proclaimed across packed rooms, and whispered confessions in hospital hallways has always been the lifeblood of soap operas. This week's events, mannequins, cupcakes, pets with investigative instincts, and lifts that function as time machines, show that the soap opera industry is willing to turn really crazy. What keeps these strange beats alive? Because the emotional costs are substantial, even in absurdity. A misplaced envelope can change lives. A cookie-induced confession can transform a family. A dog discovering a bracelet can shift the course of history. Additionally, viewers enjoy conversing. Strange incidents give rise to memes, videos go viral, and Genoa City continues to be talked about for better or worse. In small-town narrative economies, absurdity with drama equals cultural currency. Ask questions the next time someone in a power meeting offers you a cookie. Examine the label. Put your phone in airplane mode. Additionally, think about employing a lawyer and a veterinary if a dog pushes a legal paperwork in your favor. Do you want a companion piece? I can transform any one of these moments into a complete scene, complete with dialogue, stage directions, and everything. Or I can turn the list as a whole into a fictitious soap award ceremony for the season's most bizarre beats. Which strange moment deserves a trophy?
Hey everyone, thanks for watching my video. Jack's counterattack leaves Adam fighting for his life. Please like and subscribe.